Greetings, everybody, and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. And we're here to do an episode of What's New. It's Saturday night, and this will be take two as I erase the entire thing and now have to do it again. And now I'm going to be late for where I'm supposed to be. So I forget sometimes. I got to give it a chance for the computer to actually accept it, and before I turn it off. I will get this at some point. Anyways, we're here tonight to do an episode of What's New featuring a band called Tumbleweed Dealer. The album is called Dark Green, released on February the 7th, 2025, about 39 minutes long. It's they produced it. Well, it's on their own label, so it's a self-released label, I guess is what you would want to call it. Produced by Jean-Baptiste Joband. The band consists of Zeb Painshad on bass and guitars, Angelo Fara on drums and percussion, and Jean-Baptiste Jambond on synthesizers and programming. In addition, they do have some guest musicians here: Antonio Burrell, mellotron, Hammond organ and keyboards on most of the tracks, Gilliam Odette Wurtzler on Rhodes and church organ on a couple of tracks, Jocelyn Couture on trumpet and flugelhorn on 4 tracks, Loic Roy Jurgensen on trombone on a couple tracks, Zach Strauss on saxophone on 1 track, and special guest Chechi Ramos as himself doing the vocal part on track 7. Album artwork depicts an alien kind of landscape with some planets in outer space, not completely unknown in Prog's corners. So this album has 10 tracks on it. Overall, I would say it's complex. It's a pretty complex album. Lots of instrumentation and pretty strong instrumentation, especially from the bass, guitar, and drums. Well, the drums, I think, are the most dominant instrument on here. There are quite a bit of different keyboard sounds, from mellotron and organ to keyboards, and quite a bit of synthesizers on the album, giving it somewhat of that proggy kind of symphonic atmosphere, but not too much of it, just a little bit. I think the album is pretty straightforward. Most of the tracks are fairly short, coming in under 4 minutes. There's only 3 that go over 4 minutes. One's in the 4-minute range, one in the 5, and then one in the 6-minute range. The drums and bass pretty prominent throughout most of the track. Very strong rhythmic section. So I'll kind of break the songs down. Also want you to know there's no vocals on here other than the 1 track, and it's a spoken vocal thing, so we will get to that. And if there is any kind of vocals at all, I will let you know. So the first track is almost 3 minutes long. It's A Distant Figure in Fog. It's got a nice acoustic guitar, or it might be a toned down electric guitar here, with some electric synthesizer sounds going on as kind of a support to that. The song does get heavy with a more electric guitar riff and pounding drums. Heavy organ and synthesizers throughout it. The melody does change more towards the end of the track, and it gets a kind of a pulsating end to it, synthesizer end to it. The next song is called Sparks Adrift in Louisiana. Oh, by the way, that one had no vocals. Sparks Adrift in Louisiana, Night Sky. This has got a kind of a heavy guitar, bass, and drum opening. Then you get the guitar becomes a little bit more picky as he's picking. The mellotron part, it's got that kind of a distant motive to it. Heavy synthesizer dominated track. Some harmonizing operatic vocal things where they're doing the oh. Yeah, there's quite a bit of that on this particular track. The bass guitar and very distinctive and catchy melody and beat for the song. I did like this track. A Plant That Thinks It's Human. You're going to find a lot of their tracks 6-7 word lengthy and descriptive kind of almost sentence like titles for the songs. A Plant That Thinks It's Human. I did like this one too, kind of a heavy melodic drum and bass beat. The keyboards part is kind of slow and melodic. There's some build up as more instruments join throughout the track. This is not a discommon thing that they do on a lot of their songs, adding stuff and taking stuff away, and the song kind of weaves and goes. And this one almost has a kind of Kraftwerk like feel to it. That's what I immediately remembered my Kraftwerk album from the past. So anyways, moving on. Next song is Becoming One with the Bayou. The use of brass instruments on this track for the first time. Complex, up-tempo instrumentation here, and a kind of a synthetic fade-out, as a synthesizer fade-out towards the end of the track. They do use fade-outs quite a bit, which is not really all that common. A lot of bands now tend to abruptly end or come to an end on the song. This one they like to use some fade-outs. Dragged Across the Wetlands is another song I liked quite a bit. Kind of fast-paced drum riff, drum beat anyways, and then you got a guitar and bass supporting it. So another strong trio of musicians going on here. Some interesting guitar picking throughout this track. Nice catchy melody. Does pick up speed and gets a little scrapey on the guitar towards the end of the track, where he's like just got a hold of it and just scraping across the fret. Next song, Dark Green, that's the title track, one of the first of 3 songs over 4 minutes. It's got a slow key part with some heavy drums. The key parts are supportive pretty much throughout that beginning of the track. The guitar riff gets catchy as it goes along. You got some fast-paced guitar dominated picking going on. Bass solo mid-track, followed with a kind of a heavy fuzzy organ sound going on. And then it of course has a kind of synthesizer background as well. Ghost Dressed in Weeds. This is the one with the vocals by Krejci. It opens with a bass guitar part and followed by that spoken words, which feels almost rappy-like. It's part of the reason why I didn't really like it. I found it's almost like they're doing a rap song, but it was a prog rap song, so it's a little bit different. The backing vocal supports aren't too bad here, even though they're not singing, they're just making noise. The vocals are heavy at parts. The bass becoming more dominant and up-tempo as the song goes along, getting faster paced as it goes along. This is a pretty complex bass instrumentation on this particular track too. One of the longer tracks as well. Was probably the only one that I gave under a 6 on the whole album. Next up is the 3-minute plus Moss of the Mind. It's kind of a slow down organ keyboard part going on here with some bass, harmony vocals with just those operatic kind of noises that I talked about earlier. It's got a complex instrumentation and multi-instrumental parts to it, and a very drum-dominated song as well. Body of the Bog, this is the longest track on the album at just around 6.5 minutes. Drums are dominant here, the keyboards supporting it. You got a bass and drums then take over. You got a catchy guitar picking part. You have a heavy interlude, another key drum dominated part towards the back half. Some intricate guitar parts here as well. And then the bass supports during most of the back part of the track. So pretty strong song. I found this a little bit catchy, but not overly. And then the final song, Soul Made of Sludge. This may be my favorite track on the album. Pretty close if it isn't. It's among the favorites for sure. It's kind of a slow melodic organ and opening. Then some good solid percussion, rhythmic dominated song. Catchy guitar. Melodic. It's a pretty melodic song, I think. The bass and drums are very forward on this track, as they are on a lot of the tracks, but more so than a lot of the other tracks as well. I think it kind of fades towards the end of the album, with a drum dominated part towards the end as well. So Really good song. I think it might be the best on the album. Overall, I like the album. I don't tend to like instrumentals very much. This one was all instruments except for the one vocals, and the only vocals on it, and I didn't really like that part, so I would have been happy if they'd done no vocals. Yeah, pretty solid album, and they are a Canadian band. That's part of the reason why I gave them a chance. They do have about 4 albums. This is the latest of their albums that came out this year. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you want, you can make comments about Tumbleweed. Tumbleweed, I want to call them the specials, but they're Tumbleweed Dealer, which is the name of the band, and the album is Dark Green. If you want to make comments about either of them, you can in the comment section below. We will be back next Saturday night with another album. What's new? I think it's going to be the IQ. We'll find out. We'll see then. Take care and have a good one. Goodbye.